The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Yeah, Earnestly Speaking podcast. Let's get it. I'm a giant in New York, in Miami carry heat. So much more in store, my product can flood the street. Opinion Nation Godfather, CEO. Puff in the late 90s, gon' see me blow. Oh. Got my hustle on, no imitation of bad. Army of untouchables, Opinion Nation staff. Never an off season, homie, check the numbers. Heart throbbing my own right, supplying southern comfort. Earnestly speaking, my ego is well fed. Earnestly speaking, you're too evil and no threat. See, I'm like a hurricane, you're a mild breeze. Earnestly speaking, leaving Eli a dynasty. Shake!
Earnestly Speaking podcast coming to you Thursday, February 27th, 2025. Is once again one of our favorites on the pod, one of the alum, certainly a Mount Rushmore candidate for Earnestly Speaking guests and contributors, I want to call that. Marc Francois is here.
It's
Mark,
funny
how are you, bud?
I'm well, man. I'm well. It's funny because literally as the music was rolling in, it was occurring to me. We've been at this shit for like 13 years.
No, this show, 13 years. This show's existed 14 years.
I mean, you and I mean, like you.
Right, correct, right.
You've been doing this way longer, but like.
Yeah, but only a year more longer than we've known each other. But you've been.
But yeah, like the Opinionation site, the writing, what was Jabari's original profile, NBA Real Talk or something like that?
Yeah. By the way, I need to get Jabari. Jabari put up a night. We'll get to the politics.
Yeah, shout out to Jabari Davis.
Yeah, man, he hasn't been a podcast in years, and I gotta get him in the pod soon. Man. I miss that dude, man. I miss chopping up with him about NBA and other things of that nature. But
I hadn't talked to him in a minute, and I haven't had a chance to connect with him yet. But I literally within an hour of like the Luka trade, he was one of the first people I had to call. Like actually,
did he answer?
Call. No, I didn't get a chance to connect with them. But no, he was like immediate. I was like, oh shit, I gotta call Jabari.
I did text you. Did I text you tonight also too?
I imagine his phone was a little active at that moment.
We got Lakers talk coming. We actually got a lot of shit on the docket to talk about today. We're gonna talk about obviously
this one might end up being a marathon.
Yeah, no, it is, and it's okay with that. I'm okay with that. Like, well, I was gonna talk about personal shit, of course. We got first month of Trump. We have DOGE. We got MSNBC's meltdown on Purge. Want to call that? The Lakers are red hot.
Accurate.
Yeah. The Lakers are red hot. Are they finals contenders? Baseball's back, and other things through the pike. Let's go personal side first. Also, number one. Mark, I'm going to be in New York this August. I announced on the podcast 2 weeks ago that I finally bought my tickets to the System of a Down Korn concert. Well, System of a Down concert. It's just System of a Down because it's the headliner band of the show in New Jersey. So my wife and I are going to be going, take the trek up to New York for a couple of days.
That's at MetLife, right?
It's at MetLife Stadium, right?
Yeah.
My wife, I told her, hey, I can see some of my friends up there, hopefully. It's like, including Mark. It's like, Mark? Isn't Mark in California still? I go, no, he's in New York now. He's like, oh my God, we gotta go see Mark.
Yeah.
So
it'll be 2 years in like 2.5 weeks.
So it's been 2 years. It's been in the greatest city in the world that I'm born at. How are you enjoying it?
Dude, I love it here. Are you kidding? Like, I really do.
The
one thing I will say, seasonal affective disorder is real. I thought I was just like going through a rough run last winter, and I noticed January, February, man, that shit hits. And like when I lived in Canada, I didn't have time to feel it because I was working like 14 hours a day. We were out the door 6:30 every morning to be at the hotel, and we weren't getting home till 7-8 o'clock at night. So there was no time to really notice it. But like working from home and stuff, the last couple of years, I've really man, January and February kind of a bitch. But no, oh man, I love it here. I absolutely love it here. It's funny because, I grew up in an area very similar to Long Island, and now living on Long Island. It's funny because people would be like, why in the hell would you go from there to here? And I'm like, I've seen it all. I mean, I lived there for 38 years, 36 of 38 years of my life before I moved here. So I was like, I've seen everything Southern. I've seen every crevice of Southern California.
Yeah.
I've seen and done pretty much. You can never do it all, but I feel like I've pretty much done it all. So it was time for change of scenery, and this. It's definitely a difficult place to get along. It's an expensive place to get along, but it's not. It's not
It's
altogether
still different in
harder or
California,
anything than like LA or San Diego. Yeah,
but in terms of prices, not any different in California, right?
not the same.
It's no different. It's the
I
same,
mean,
right?
it pretty much is a wash because there's certain things that are.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, there's certain things that are more expensive in LA or San Diego. There's certain things that are more expensive here, and they offset. Like groceries are much cheaper here.
Really?
Yeah, way cheaper.
That's interesting.
Yeah, at least than San Diego. Like
Do you think?
I've
Do you
actually
think it's because do you think it's because the amount of stores there, the competition there?
maybe that could be part of it. It's probably as simple as price gouging too, because for example, Southern California's big three grocery providers, biggest are Amazon, via Whole Foods,
Yeah.
Kroger, Safeco, which is Safeway, Vaughn's, massive corporations that don't give a shit about their workers or their consumers, and so they just gouge. And for example, I go to Stop and Shop, which I forget the name of their parent organization, but they're a Northeast regional company with a much better track record on DEI, worker, fair pay, things, all the things they do much better than most large scale grocery operations. So that's my best guess. It's probably just as simple as they're a better, more responsible company than the people who dominate the Southern California market. But then it's other things like car insurance here costs a fucking fortune. It's 2.5 times, 3 times what I paid in California. I pay more for one car for less coverage here than I did for 2 cars with like platinum coverage in California.
You don't need a car though. You don't need a car. Well, you're in Long
Island, you do. Different. And especially when I first moved here and I was working with that restaurant group, they had multiple locations around Suffolk County. So it was one of those things where I had to be mobile. I had to be able to get to the places. And then the other thing about like Long Island Railroad is it doesn't have anything that goes between the south, that like runs between the South and North Shore. All the lines are running east-west.
Yeah.
And they're all parallel to each other. So, for example, if I'm in Lindenhurst down on the South Shore and I want to get up to Westbury, I'd have to go all the way to or take buses. But you'd have to go by train all the way to Jamaica, transfer to the Ronkonkoma line, and then backtrack all the way to Westbury. So you're talking about a 2.5 hour train ride or a 20-minute drive.
Do you use a car a lot? And do you use transit in New York though?
Oh yeah, all the time. That's absolutely my preference for the city and for anything I can.
Have you thought about getting rid of the car? Have you thought about like?
It's yes and no right now. As long as if I moved into the city, I would probably get rid of it. But I also have a homie who's very gracious and would let me store it at his house at no charge. So
that's cool.
And I own it outright. So for example, I could register it as a non-op. Put it on a minimum insurance policy and park it and, just leave it in his garage or something if I wanted to.
Yeah. That's a good point. Now, I'm trying to decide.
I love the subway and stuff. Like,
yes.
I hate taking Ubers and cabs in the city except late at night because honestly, it takes longer.
It slows down.
Yeah, it takes the thing about it is like,
honestly, you better have walking, honestly.
You really are on it. Like, for example, anytime I go to like the West Side in Midtown or something, there's no subway stations really over there. So it's like, if I'm going to like Hudson Yard or something, there's really, or like, I don't know, like the pier, like Chelsea Piers and shit like that.
Yeah.
There's not really anything that takes you from, 6th, 8th Avenue, that area, where like Penn or Grand Central might be. And there's nothing that runs you straight west. So you just fucking walk. And it takes 20 minutes. It's not a big deal.
And that's why I'm trying to, so like, before I'm looking at topics in a second, but so as I mentioned, I'll be up there in August. What's happening though is we're going to go to Connecticut first, drop my kids off to my sister's house for a couple of days. So we're going to fly to Connecticut, New Haven. Okay. Once they're there, we're trying to decide whether not to rent a car or not, and I'm leaning towards not renting a car
because maybe Well, I would say like Amtrak is expensive. So maybe what you do is like rent a car that you can drive from like say Connecticut to Westchester or White Plains or something like that, and then get on like a Metro North into the city and do that shit.
Well, she has a thing where she said that you can take a train from where she's at because the train station from where she lives at that goes into the city is like within half an hour of the house. So
I would say check the prices because Amtrak, even here, like technically Amtrak is supposed to be the best value in the Northeast, obviously, from like say, Portland to
right.
DC, call it Richmond.
Mhm.
But honestly, it's fucking expensive. Like Amtrak's expensive. I've looked at it to go to like because like my buddies and I were talking about going to a Bills game during the regular season. And I was looking at it, and it's cheaper to fly. So it double check Amtrak because it low key. And then even if you do that, take the train, but only take the train as far as like Westchester. Don't take unless it's and then just take Metro North because that's like $10.
Yeah. Okay. I'll do.
It's like $8 or $7.50 or something like that from Westchester to Grand Central.
Duly noted. All right. So I'm assuming this is the first podcast we've done since like I'm looking up right now.
I think it was the last one was the deep dive autopsy on the
I'm looking
the
at
election.
I'm looking at it right now. I'm strailing back here at all the shows we've done.
I want to say it was like first week of December or something, or
right
around
Thanksgiving. No, it was actually the week. It was like 2 weeks, a week after the election was over.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, the last episode we did was like November 7th, 2024.
Yeah, and then we did election night, obviously.
Right, of course. So a lot's happened since then. We've had an inauguration. We had.
You don't say.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you, Mark, and I'm gonna be real with you here a little bit on this one. I was a little bit fearful. Not okay. That's a little extreme for me to say fearful, but I have made a conscious decision to step away from politics a little bit, not wholeheartedly, but like this.
Sure.
You and I are very much in the trenches.
You're never gonna bury your head in the sand.
We're day to day. Yeah, you and I are day to day, no matter what.
Yeah.
But a lot of it too also is not because of Trump or no, it had nothing to do with that at all. Because I can argue that it could be actually both sides because what I've noticed too also in my household, and I think I spoke on this once on the pod, not too much in detail, is that even though my wife and I are on the same side politically for the most part, we do have some differences. Mm-hmm. And we do vote the same way. We always vote the same way we've been together. And she's much more liberal than I am. Much more. She's far left. But
yeah, she's hanging out with me, pointing fingers at Bernie, even.
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah, it's even caused some strife in the household because of some of the things that's going on. That I've had to force myself to say, you know what, look, this shit's important. I get it, but I need a step back. I need to breathe. So I've made a conscious effort to step away a little bit. I've been following the things that's going on day to day to some degree, but I'm not like in taking all the media stuff I normally do every day. So I was a little fearful because I haven't really done a political. I think maybe one in the last 3 months. I did one at Rob Genius, who's another Democratic guy. I think maybe I did one. That's actually the only one. I'm a little bit fearful because I know when we go in, we're honest, authentic, to the point, and whether or not we agree, disagree, that's what we are. And I was a little fearful, like, okay, we're gonna do some Mark though. To me, I have to go back into the whole thing. So that's why I told you, I gave you like a disclaimer. Listen, I have not been as like balls to the walls I used to be the last 3 months because I need for my mental health to take a step back. So
this actually tees up some stuff. So yeah,
I like that. Go ahead.
So a couple different things. Number one, I think recognize you and I are obviously heavy consumers of news, politics, history, international relations, all the issues.
Understatement, my friend. Understatement.
But something we have to be mindful of is I have ADHD. I'm pretty sure you said you do too. So people with ADHD, number one, obviously we have fire hose, hyper focus tendencies on certain things.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And coupled with that, people with ADHD also have an extremely high sensitivity to injustice. That's why so many activists have ADHD. So you have to, like, that will like shit is traumatizing right now.
Yeah.
So I think recognizing that is incredibly mindful, and limiting your intake is reasonable. And the other thing too is it like pertains to what we're going to discuss today. Honestly, that will make for a better discussion, because I think it's more important right now to talk about like broad concepts. Like getting into every little distraction is actually the point, with like Steve Bannon's flood the zone shit and all the distractions and misdirection they're trying to do. So I think it's more, I think it's actually more important if we boil it down to kind of like broader concepts and the larger arc of what's happening, because that'll, I think, convey the danger and the imperative that we face.
Yeah. So, yeah. And I'm someone, even my dad would tell you this, because my dad also is like me in a lot of ways, very, very center left, but very optimistic people. And him and I have the same attitude about this stuff. Like, understanding that I did not vote for Donald Trump, knowing that, and I have my personal reason why I didn't vote for him, and still trying to remain optimistic on
the fact you have a conscience.
You're right. And that's the thing that, and the thing that also, like, okay, let's see, are there any good that could come out of this? And so that's always been my attitude. And I think
if you make over $450,000 a year, maybe.
Of course, yeah. And I think that's what I strive with my wife. My wife is the opposite of that. She's like, no, fire. There's a fire in the house, fire in the house, fire in the house, a fire there, boom, boom, boom. I'm looking at more like, okay, let's be a little more specific here. Let's be a little more measured here. And that's what's causing the strife in the household to some degree, is that. And she thinks I'm too laissez-faire when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah,
I think I get it.
Yeah, and obviously I don't know both sides, but like, yeah, the thing I would say to Lauren is like, don't let the bombardment overwhelm you, because that's literally its intent.
It's supposed to do that.
It's like it's the same shit that Hitler did during the first 53 days, and how he went from election to dictator. This is, it's bigger than any one policy or abhorrent bill or executive order. It's about a fundamental and existential struggle between democracy and dictatorship. And what do you want? Do you want to be dictated to in this country? Because if you don't stand up, if you don't flood your representatives' emails and town halls and voicemails and phone lines, all that crap, that's what we're talking about here.
I've always fallen short of calling Trump a dictator, but without question, he's an authoritarian. And anybody that is silly, because anyone
he's not been a dictator to this point, because checks and balances and the Constitution has held, but he absolutely wants to be.
And he's an authoritarian. Anybody wants to control the media, when media wants to be in the White House to answer questions.
Yeah.
That's
ripping press credentials from people who don't ask the right questions and shit like that. Like, come on.
Right. And that's what
AP, like that's not even a corporate, like, it's a collective of journalists. What the fuck are we doing?
Exactly. And I think things like that, and look, I have a lot of issues with the media in general, how they operate with many things.
Well, yeah, we're about to get to MSNBC in a second.
Yeah, but at the same time, though, but at the same time, though, you can't look at that and say, "Oh, well, that's cool," because the left. No. Even if the left, who gives a shit? This is part of.
Yeah, you're turning the sort of the right wing trifecta of Fox, OAN, and Newsmax into state media. That's
simply put, you're making their point. You're making the point of the left that was saying, "Oh, this is a bad thing." You're making the point there.
Yeah.
So what has stood out to you in the first 37 days of this administration?
A couple different things. I am happy. The petty, I will just say, the petty part of me does get a little chuckle at all of the people who fucked around in November and are finding out in February. They thought it was going to be somebody else who got screwed by all these policies. And we tried to say, unless you're rich, this isn't going to help you. You're voting against your interests. And now, you have all these MAGA farmers in Missouri that are, losing their pricing subsidies, and USA, because of them DOGE gutting USAID. You have millions of pounds, like literally, I think they said like $500 million in food is going to expire. And these farmers are not going to be able to sell their product. Prices are tanking as a result because of oversupply. So yeah, that's, how do you guys feel now? This is literally what we told you was going to happen.
Yeah, I need the examples too.
So
Also,
there is that. But the spinelessness of Democratic leadership. I'm very inspired by what I see from people like Jasmine Crockett and AOC and others who are out there doing the work. But Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, they're completely spineless. Absolutely spineless. You got Hakeem Jeffries up there on TV wringing his hands. Oh, what are we gonna do?
Am I wrong?
They control, and then he's on Midas Touch, bitching and complaining that everyone's criticizing him and calling him spineless for being spineless. Like, you're a fucking jellyfish. Stand aside and let somebody like Jasmine Crockett lead, because she's ready to fight.
Can I also add that, and not because of anything he said, but every time I look at Chuck Schumer, I'm like,
he's a puppet.
You're part of the fucking problem. Get the fuck out of here, dude.
Yeah, and he's a puppet for AIPAC. He's a fucking genocide apologist.
Yeah,
him and Chuck Schumer both.
Yeah, I don't know. So what things that people were voting for that didn't think would affect them, or you see that are like, oh, fuck around, found out. Now you're finding out now. So obviously, immigration is one of the obvious things. Some of the immigration stuff.
All right. So you got another big one is say insulin prices.
That one's
in
huge.
Alabama whose insulin prices just went for, what was it, capped at $35 or something like that. You got people paying as much as $300 and $400 now for their insulin.
I know the one here.
Thousands of federal workers that are, you just have, if you listen to the Midas Touch podcast, which is awesome. Matter of fact, I think a couple of weeks ago they surpassed Joe Rogan in downloads.
Last week. No, it was last week.
It was last week. Okay.
Yeah.
Time.
See, I am following some of the stuff. See, I'm following.
Yeah. So sorry. Time is like a relative concept for me
right
now. Felt like January was 653 days.
Yeah.
Between the LA fires, the fire in our democracy, like just everything. The Arctic vortex hitting the Midwest and the Deep South, like it was crazy. But yeah, so that was just last week. But no, that podcast has done a really good job. I totally lost my train of thought.
You told Midas Touch and
I totally lost my train of thought.
We got a lot to talk about. We got a lot, so it's a lot of shit.
My mind is actually kind of racing.
Yeah. No, but yeah, I've listened to them a little bit last year toward the end of the campaign a little bit. I mean, I try to keep it balanced. Like I still like prefer breaking points and go ahead.
Okay, sorry, I got it back.
You got it back? Cool.
Yeah, what I was saying is
ADHD. See, there you go.
Yeah, exactly. You lose the thread, but you kind of like yank it back before it's gone.
Yeah, exactly.
No, on the Midas Touch podcast, they're playing all these different people who've been like calling into C-SPAN and giving commentary to their local news, and it's worker after worker after worker. Disabled veterans. That have gotten, struggled to find work and then finally get a job at, say, the IRS or the National Park Service or, any number of federal agencies, and they're being unceremoniously fired and people are losing their income. So, I mean, you just had this budget that was passed in the middle of the night, this budget resolution that was passed in the middle of the night in the House. That's absolutely disgusting. Gutting Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP, Section 8, the Department of Education, all these different things are being gutted so that we can give a $4.5 trillion tax break to the richest 5% of Americans.
Yeah.
Stock market is tumbling. How are egg prices doing? Also, the bird flu shit circulate. I was just reading an article last week. Like, even that's a bunch of bullshit, and is again, just like with the COVID price gouging, it's using a legitimate blip in the ability to produce to just simply gouge people on pricing, and the government isn't going to do anything about it. So for example, bird flu, yes, there have been, what was it, a few million birds that have had to be euthanized to stop the spread of bird flu, but it didn't like the actual egg supply was not materially impacted. So they said, oh no, we're not going to be able to produce eggs. Yeah, the fuck you are. They're still producing the same amount. We were actually overproducing before. It's just an excuse for grocery companies and distributors to arbitrarily raise prices.
Yep, absolutely. No,
they've been doing consistently for 5 years without any kind of material checks against them by the government.
Yeah,
Elizabeth Warren was trying with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, little things like that. But, there was another casualty of DOGE.
Yeah.
As Elon Musk is trying to turn Twitter into some kind of PayPal payment platform that deal he's doing with Visa. So
I like that segue. I was going to get the DOGE in a second, right now. So DOGE, obviously the Department of Government Efficiency, created platform by Trump administration, of course, head up by Elon Musk now. So I feel mostly tweets about this. So I do like the idea of finding waste and fraud. No, I don't think anyone disputes that whatsoever.
Who is opposed to making the government more efficient?
Right.
Duh.
But this is why I've been telling my right-wing friends, and they don't understand where I'm coming from. My problem mostly with this, just from a layman's point of view, is not that DOGE exists. I have no problem with that whatsoever. It's not the first time you've seen shit like this in the past. Jimmy Carter, I think Jimmy Carter had a thing, not called DOGE, but Jimmy Carter had a so it's been done before by Democratic presidents also.
He had an initiative that sought to achieve similar goals.
Right. Cut waste.
Put it that way.
My problem is who's in charge of it. Especially given the fact, and nothing to do with politics, that's due to the fact that he's a government contractor.
And I'll go even one step. I'll go even one step farther for the booger eaters who just cover their eyes and stick their fingers in their ears and go la 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 la. Know, but it's quite simple. The priority of agencies being gutted and made more efficient. Blah 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 blah. They're all the agencies that were investigating, suing, or overseeing Elon Musk's contracts. It's literally to basically to make SpaceX private NASA.
Privatized, right?
And to be able to shove through his bullshit ass payment platform on X, so without oversight from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. It's not doing. They're not actually working towards any of their stated goals. That's the whole fucking point.
Right.
It's misdirection. They tell you they're doing one thing, but follow the money.
Always
it's really that simple. Always follow the money. They are simply lining their pockets and trying to make the American worker a permanent underclass that they can control into perpetuity.
Right.
And that means forever for those of you who still eat your boogers.
Jesus Christ. No, and that's my problem.
Odds are high among that community.
If Bob Acker, who's not getting money from the government or for his company, was doing this, I have no problem with that whatsoever because he's not.
Jeff Bezos literally just posted yesterday that the Washington Post opinion panel, editorial board, whatever, will no longer post anything critical. Everything will be in support of personal liberty and basically billionaire glorification. I forget the exact fucking verbiage that he used, but he basically just said, it's official. We're no longer posting anything I don't like or anything that is a slight against billionaires.
Yeah.
And by the way, personal it was Ibram X. Kendi that this post I saw on this.
Okay.
And he made a really important point that personal liberty is the very specific term that slavers used to fight abolition and justify their horrid practices.
Yeah. So. It does boggle my mind that even my friends on the right, who I'm very close to, and we have some of them have great discussions, of course, about this, that they don't see the conflict interest in this.
Yeah.
But then they'll bring on George Soros. George Soros is this like really?
We have got and this is, it's just like any cult. I mean, watch any documentary, whether it's Nixium or the cat death cult thing that there's a documentary about now, or Heaven's Gate. It's the exact same pattern of behavior. It's that everything revolves around dear leader and whatever they say. So facts don't matter.
Yeah.
The truth doesn't matter.
What happened to Ramaswamy though? It's supposed to be a joint effort between him and Elon Ramaswamy, and then
well, to use their terms, he's a little beta bitch boy. So Elon Musk pushed him out of the way, just like everybody else did in the election.
Well, he's supposed to run for governor or something, or senator for Ohio, something like that.
That guy's such a piece of shit. Like,
you don't like him, huh? No,
he's a dumbass. He's a fucking idiot. That's the sad part. They're literally all a bunch of idiots. Mediocre white boys with chips on their shoulders. They're incels with too much money, and they're dumb to boot. And the fact that so many people worship them makes my it unravels my brain.
You know what it is though? They just hate Democrats that much.
Well, yeah,
I get it. I get it. Democrats are fucking annoying as hell.
Well, and that's, a friend of mine in my hometown was like asking me sort of like, why are they like this? And I'm like, it's really fucking simple. There's not like an intellectual argument here. It's that they're racist, xenophobes, homophobes, transphobes, anti-black, self-interested individualists who went into the voting booth thinking, oh, it's going to be them over there. They're going to come for the brown people, the black people. It's going to be all this shit is going to affect somebody else and not me. And it's like, no, you idiot. It's only going to help the rich. It's the Civil War all over again. A 1% of the population convinced, half a nation to go to war.
It's funny, like a lot of this I've always said for even the last couple of years, a lot of this is not a race issue anymore. It's a class issue.
Yeah, it's class. It's really that simple. It's what's that old quote?
It's massive.
Like issue, if you can convince the lowest black man that he's better than the lowest white man that he's better than the highest black man, you don't have to, or like they'll give you their money. I forget the whole thing, but it's I think it was President Johnson, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Wait,
comment he made around. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I believe that's who the quote's attributed to. But yeah, it's no different than how the way they did it to the working class throughout the history of our country and the development of the West, whether it's in Haiti, South America, here, it's everywhere.
But you gotta admit though, the Republicans are so good at messaging though, because somehow people are eating this up like it's nothing.
Well, I don't think it's that they're good at messaging. It's that for the first time in our history, media is so corporately co-opted that there was no one out there. I mean, you had a president that literally refused to attend a debate if he was going to be fact-checked. You had the vice president of this country bitching at his debate that he was being fact-checked. They are upset when they can't lie to your face. Like, what? I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene is up there just every day in front in the capital of this country, just lying, bald-faced lying to everyone.
So the argument they made was that the Democrats would never fact checked in the past in debates.
Wait, say that again.
The argument that the people on the right made for that, because Trump being fact checked in real time and Vance fact checked in real time, is that Democrats would never fact check real time.
That's patently
is that true? I don't know if it's true.
I mean, that's patently absurd. But if you want to compare, like, say, the last 3 election cycles, it's not it's not hard to demonstrate one party and one candidate in particular lie at a rate that has never been seen in American history. Donald Trump told something, what was it, like 180,000 lies? I mean, it was some absurd number during, like, provable, patently false absurdities in the tens of thousands. Like, one party is doing the reason Democrats don't get fact checked as often as Republicans, or say Joe Biden doesn't get fact checked as often as Donald Trump, is because they don't lie as often as Donald Trump and the Republicans do.
And it is obviously the whole
I'm
idea
not
that
sitting here caping for Democrats, but if you want to compare numbers, one party does it a whole lot more than the other.
And the thing is too, when you tell people this stuff, also like they have a problem with, oh well, that's also left leaning publications saying that, so they're going to be in the back for that. So like even the facts have to be facts checked, and it's annoying as
it's
shit.
like that old line in the newsroom, where it's like Will Mack and Charlie are arguing, and it's somebody says to Will, oh, Americans choose the news they want. He's like, no, Americans choose the facts they want.
Right.
Because we no longer have an objective baseline of truth. And that only went away in the last 10 years.
Who would have thought that show, The Newsroom, was such a great precursor for things to come? Look, that show ended in 2013, 2014, before Trump.
Yeah. Yeah. And they were covering issues that took place from 2010 to 2012.
Right.
So, I mean, it was already when you think about the kind of predictor that was for where we would end up, it's insane.
But you see how politics has been shaped last 10 years in the Trump era, especially, that show was a precursor.
And it's not like this is entirely new, because that's exactly what Will McAvoy was talking about in the show when he was calling the Tea Party the American Taliban. And he's having, these screaming matches with Jane Fonda's character, and Leon Lansing, who's the CEO of the media company that runs the network, because he's like, I'm sorry, it was Sam Waterston and Jane Fonda were having this argument, and he's like, they're just lying, Leona, they're lying.
Would you say the Tea Party was a precursor of MAGA?
Absolutely. To me, the two biggest contributors to how we got here, or what most inflamed the situation over, call it like the last 50 years, because, all right, again, we talk broad concepts, the larger arc. The New Deal and President Roosevelt's policies through the WPA and everything created the largest expansion of the middle class in history.
Yeah.
And facilitated the most expansive growth of our economy that we've ever seen.
Right.
It also helped to demonstrate that when we have an oligarchic society, which we have had numerous times throughout our history, like the Gilded Age, for example, that harms our economy. It's really simple. When poor people have more money, when working class people have an ability to economically ascend, the economy does better. Money doesn't trickle down. Period. The end. It does not.
And you and I believe, used to agree. You and I have both Republican backgrounds, so we used to agree that trickle down was a good thing.
Of course. And it's simply not true. And so,
right. It's actually
since the New Deal was created, the MAGA, literally the America First coalition, which was, the 1940s equivalent of a super PAC,
right,
was calling Roosevelt a communist, saying all the same shit that the right wing in Germany was saying, and thinking that we should be allied with Italy, and the accent, like this was what they wanted back then. And ever since, those same interests, those are the same people who enslaved, the same people who murdered and committed erasure and genocide on indigenous people in this country.
Mm-hmm.
The oppressor has always been the same person in this country. And the oppressor has fought at every turn to keep working class people in their place, whether it was the formation of unions and like coal cities and whatnot, company towns, all of it. It's the same pattern of behavior throughout history. And that's what we're up against. And since the New Deal, the modern version of this has been their stripping of every worker protection, union busting, the repeal of Glass-Steagall during the Clinton administration. But the person who really lit this fire was Ronald Reagan, and all the Reaganomics bullshit that undid a lot of that wealth creation and economic expansion that was facilitated during World War II.
Right.
or in the wake of the Great Depression. And it's only been increased, frankly, basically the Democrats since the 70s, as campaign finance has gotten so fucked up and corporate personhood has become a thing. Every time the Democrats get in power, they do a little less and a little less and a little less, and they just sort of give us like these sad little hand jobs and lie to our faces.
The thing?
And then they're taking checks out the back door, and then the
Yeah.
Republicans ramp it up and ramp it up and ramp it up. Whether it's the Reagan, Bush, and then now Trump, it's like I said, every cycle the Democrats become a little less effective opposing the oppressor. And the left gets silenced a little more and a little more because it's always been about the same thing.
And as we get that fissure on the far left with Bernie,
the
far left, and then when they
because
Bernie,
people like me who are actual progressives and leftists and socialists and stuff, we look at the Senate, we're like, Joe Biden is a Republican, like, for fuck's sake.
And that fissure, when you screw Bernie, as a result, opens we've spoken about this for like at least 8-9 years down this podcast, has opened the lane for those people to somehow get catched by Trump.
Yeah, exactly. And it's really as simple as wealth concentration is killing this country. It's killing the working class, and it is going to turn us into a third world country, if not some kind of scary hellscape dictatorship like in V for Vendetta.
So I'm not going to include
the ulcerated sphincter of our Serica is our future.
Right. I'm not going to include the evangelicals and the staunch, really.
Well, I think there is something that absolutely needs to be highlighted, because that's a huge point. That's a huge inflammatory point on all of this, which is the wave of theocratic nationalism the world over, whether it's Hindu nationalism in India, Christian nationalism here in the United States. This interconnection of faith and nationalism is one of the most dangerous elements of this entire discussion.
Right. So my point to make is I don't want to include evangelicals in this, and people who are they're ensconced in that party. The people. I call them the wiggle voters, people who are still, they vote for Trump, yes, but they're not necessarily conservative. They're still gettable voters depending on the candidate.
Well, I mean, that's the voter that we talked about during the autopsy, who
correct
that the Democrats didn't have a good product for. It
right.
didn't matter who the messenger was, because the product that the Democrats were selling was shit. So these people were captivated by lies.
So here's my question. What will it take for those angry Democratic liberal light liberal voters for them to say, "Oh, this shit was wrong"? What is it?
Tell your donors to get fucked and grow a conscience.
No, but what will it take for them? What will it take for them to see the light again? Like, you know what?
I think it's as simple. It would be as simple as, like I said, Democrats need to tell their donors to get fucked, grow a conscience, and actually do something for the working people of this country. If they did that, if they stood up and stopped it, if they were fighting these bills, if they were actually fighting to ensure that Medicare and Medicaid and SNAP and federal agencies are remaining employed and funding is not being cut off, if the Democrats made meaningful moves to make life cheaper, wages higher, healthcare more affordable and more effective, make our system preventative, not reactive, proactive, not reactive, all the things. If you did anything to push us in that direction, you'd probably capture a lot of these voters. But again, like we said, their platform was shit. Yeah. They did not make meaningful, they had 4 years to make meaningful improvements and didn't do shit.
So we did a Democratic autopsy. Check out that episode on the podcast feed anywhere from November, 2 days after the election. 3 months later, we're here. The Democratic Party right now. Where are they right now in your eyes? What is the future so far? Has anything shifted in 3 months that you see that can be okay? This could be the future of the party going forward. Where's the party now? You think in your eyes?
I mean, my hope is it's Jasmine Crockett. I mean, she is the one out there leading the charge that I see constantly in my timeline, whether it's in a committee hearing on the steps of on the steps of the Supreme Court or the Capitol building, or fighting at the Treasury Department. Like, Jasmine Crockett is who should be the face of the Democratic Party right now, because she's the one actually fighting for us.
Here's the question. Because again,
if you had to boil it down to one person, I mean, there's a handful
right.
of people that I will put my cap to in this,
and
but
I don't
she's
disagree.
out there. There's the video of her. She there was a soundbite really quick where they were like, "What would you, if you could speak directly to Elon Musk, what would you like to say to him?" Fuck off. And it's like, that's the energy I need in Washington right now. Get your hands off our fucking government, you piece of shit.
I'm trying to look at that video right now. No, I don't disagree that she could be the future of the party. Is she? And we discussed this with Kamala and other potential primary candidates in the last couple of years. Is she electable though in the end? Because at the end of the day,
you know what? I'm so far beyond that question, and I'm so tired of that question, because the answer to the electability question is, what are you doing? I'm so, like, all the identity shit doesn't matter. We are so far past that. Like, our democracy, like the fire on our democracy is so much bigger than that. I don't give a fuck. I don't care what you look like. I don't care how you talk. I don't care where you're from. As long as you are raising wages, lowering costs, protecting the working class, and making what do we talk about all the time? Like the 5 pillars of, we talk about it at HAC, the 5 pillars of community development: food, water, healthcare, housing, and access to electricity and internet, like communications. Have those 5 and and 6, education.
6.
But do those things. Fund education. Get us to a single payer system. Stop the insurance companies from absolutely obliterating us at every turn, whether it's car insurance, homeowners insurance in California, Florida, places like that. Now they're proposing bills where landlords evicting somebody from their home won't be enough. They want to go after you and charge you additional fines and penalties because your landlord had to throw you out. And then because credit bureaus and collection agencies don't give a shit about any kind of standard of law or proof or anything like that, they take the word of the landlord. So when a landlord reports you to a collection agency or a credit bureau, your credit score tanks, and you have no recourse but to sue them. And who can afford to do that?
Right, exactly. But I did find the video of
one. I saw that.
Jasmine Crockett. I'm gonna play it real quick for
Congressman Wonder Woman.
Here we go. Here it is. Here. Oh, come on!
If you could speak directly to Elon Musk, what would you say?
Off.
That's it.
If you could speak directly to Elon Musk, what would you say?
Off.
That's it. Yeah, like he said, that's it. That's
the energy.
That's what the fuck we need right now. And it's really as simple as that. It doesn't matter who the messenger is. It doesn't matter what their voting record has been almost at this point. It's like, if you are going to get on board with meaningful change to disrupt corporate personhood, fix the tax code, make this country more equitable, facilitate, not just say taking wealth from and giving it to them. That's not what I'm suggesting. When I say wealth redistribution, I mean so that from the top line, it's being distributed more evenly throughout the economy than what is currently happening. I don't think we should just, I mean, yes, I do. Fuck Bezos and Musk and Zuckerberg and all these guys. But like, it's not as simple as just taking their money and their worth away. But the fact that nobody who makes over, $10 million, like they don't pay an effective tax rate. Corporations are effectively not paying taxes. They just keep raising prices and paying us less and not paying for it. We are paying for this economy or this government, and it's fucked. And it's falling apart as a result.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about another topic we wanted to discuss here. MSNBC is going through a massive purge. Now, this is not a surprise because we've heard even up to last year that numbers were in the tank for a lot of these shows.
It's an exercise in capitulation.
Right. So I have the list of shows that were canceled, for example.
Oh, you do? Okay, because I know we've been going back and forth about this, and then every time
that's okay.
we see one, it's like there's like,
Another
oh
one.
shit, that person. There's like in the subheading, it's like, oh yeah, and these 4 people also got fired. You're like, oh fuck.
Yeah. So like we have so obviously the notable names, of course, Joy Reid, she got fired or laid off from MSNBC. Our girl Alex Wagner.
One of the best political journalists on the scene.
Yeah, she should have stayed fucking did the circus, in my opinion. But when that's the thing here or there. Katie Fang's show got canceled as well. She's gone. Notably, who did not get canceled was actually born.
Sorry, we're getting a little feed interruption here. I'm not sure if it's you or me.
I don't have. You hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm on the phone with me. Yeah, guys. Sorry about that, guys.
No, I was betting.
I was bringing up the Yahoo. Article of the list of shows that got canceled.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, my phone is my computer just froze up out of nowhere. So I'm waiting.
It's like back in the '90s when your computer would just lock up for absolutely no reason.
Yeah. Once I get this thing up running, I'll be back on the thing. But
no worries. But I bet where you were going with that before it, I managed to catch a few syllables, and you were noting that Morning Joe didn't get canceled.
No.
Funny.
You used to be a big fan of that show, remember?
I mean, yeah, kind of as I was walking my way from right to left in the political spectrum. I briefly passed through, and
yeah,
in the lead up of the 2016 election, they were having a lot more. They were having better guests, but I mean, they did also jerk Trump off a lot until about
especially the end.
It's.
Your thoughts on MSNBC? Your thoughts?
It's the poster child of the point, which is that the corporate the moneyed interest and the fact that all of our newspapers and television media and radio media and political commentary in this country are more or less controlled by 6 companies.
Mm-hmm.
This is exactly what you get. Is that they're not trying, the people the reason people aren't watching MSNBC is because the people on MSNBC aren't talking about anything that the people they want to view their stuff give a shit about. They keep parading through all these rich asshole elitists and commentators, firing real journalists that are out there doing the work. They're not doing investigative stories. They're not highlighting, they were absolutely complicit in burying Bernie Sanders in 2016. Morning Joe, and you know what, even how what was it, I'm blanking. John Heilman, fuck, that was driving me crazy. Heilman and Heilman and Mark Halper, or John Heilman and Mark Halper were, I mean, they were brutal to Bernie, and they totally capitulated to. I mean, Bloomberg was Clinton all the way.
Was that on the circus? Or was that on the show?
No, the show before that. Right. With all due respect,
right? I didn't watch that show. I watched the circus one.
Yeah,
I used to watch. Put me in on that show though, but the circus.
Yeah, I used to love With All Due Respect, but then right as the Democratic primary started to heat up, they were guilty of all the same shit CNN, the New York Times, MSNBC that they all did to bury Bernie's campaign and not give equal airtime. They weren't covering the fact that he had people watching on monitors outside of his rallies because their 25,000 seat capacity was maxed out. That just all that shit that we've talked about for years. So people like me are sick and tired of hearing people Nicole Wallace was great. I loved that she made that in 2016 she figured out what was going on with the Republican Party and moved away from it, but she's got blood on her hands too. I mean, fuck, she was Sarah Palin's chief of staff or something and White House communication director for Bush. So I'm sick and tired of all these rich white people telling everybody that they're idiots for wanting higher wages and more progressive candidates.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe Scarborough sits up there every day and shakes his finger at people on the left from his fucking living room in his mansion in Florida. Go fuck yourself, Joe.
And yet, here's the thing, though. Some of this stuff is to some degree justified because the numbers are in the tank. It had been in the tank for a long time. Like this is not a surprise.
Well, yeah, but okay, I guess you're fixing the wrong problem. What you did isn't going to do anything to fix the problem. Firing people like Mehdi Hassan and Ayman Moyadeen and people who had the balls to talk about Palestine and the disgusting, horrific genocide that's happening in Gaza and the West Bank, and it's like.
So are you suggesting they should go more left?
Yes. Yeah, if they were actually bringing in people that were speaking to what the disaffected workers in this country are experiencing and what Black and brown people in this country are experiencing, and simply calling out Israel's fucking genocide. A genocide is taking place in Gaza, and it's a complicated issue. No, the fuck it isn't. They're dropping bombs on babies.
My mom will love me for this right now. My mom is she's all in on this thing too.
Yeah, it's really simple. Since October 7th of 2023, they've been dropping bombs on babies. Like I have an old friend who is is half Jewish and is like a Zio with a conscience, and she's wrestling with her understanding of this whole thing, and she keeps popping in my DMs and asking me like, oh well, what about this and what about that? And I literally every time I just send her back the comparative numbers of Palestinian versus Israeli deaths over the last 40 years. It's literally hundreds of thousands of Palestinians compared to a tiny percentage of that of Israelis.
When you're gonna go to whataboutism all the time, that's a problem. If
yeah,
you're what about,
it's like this isn't complicated. Zionism is erasure. It was a doctrine that came about in Russia. A bunch of white Jews were tired of getting pogromed to death in Eastern Europe and wanted to flee to Israel. It's that fucking simple. And they want to move the Palestinians out of their way so that they can colonize the land and take over because of some misplaced idea of, this God-ordained mission. Like, the fuck out of here. I mean, even like Hasidic rabbis are out here saying like, this is not Jewish. War is not Jewish. Genocide is not Jewish.
That's true. There's a lot of those out there too.
And if you want to talk about the fucking Bible and the Tanakh, like, the Jews wandered the desert for how many thousands of years before they settled Palestine? Like, the Israelites have always been colonizers.
Damn.
Like, it's that simple. Colonization, erasure, capitalism, and genocide. Do you have a conscience or not?
Yeah. Roll back to MSNBC though, real quick.
But yeah, it's stuff like that. That's why they fail. That's why they're the mouthpiece. They're the mouthpiece of the DNC, and the part of the elements of the DNC that you and I cannot stand for years now.
Yeah, it's a combination of things. Obviously, I think that obviously the Gaza issue is what did Kamala, and one of the reasons she got done in one. But I think also too
wages, costs, Gaza, bingo. That's why they lose. That's why you fail.
There isn't. I think this is also the first opportunity for the left to really kind of mimic the right in a sense where the right has a think tank. The right doesn't even depend on Fox News anymore. Like Fox News is really for all the boomers and stuff. Like,
yeah, it's just it's to tell Uncle Racist Grandpa in Alabama what's happening, or to help funnel them lies and fear.
The new age conservatives or Joe Rogan-ish people, you want to call it, Arrow people, they don't watch Fox News either. They'll start with Rogan.
Joe Rogan doesn't care because anybody who's on TV, he can just ask them to come sit in his fucking garage for 4 hours.
They'll watch Ben Shapiro. They'll watch all these other right-wing leaning places.
Yeah.
Or presumably right-wing leaning places, and then
young people don't get their media on TV. People under 50 don't get their media on TV.
If you're on the left though, and you're frustrated by the messaging of the Democratic Party or the left as a whole, I think MSNBC falling apart is actually a good thing, because I think what you're going to see now, and if for example, you touched on a little while
ago, all these corporate titans, I would love to watch them fall.
Right. You touched on a couple minutes ago. Minus touch. They just beat Rogan in numbers for the first time last week.
Exactly.
You're probably I think what you're seeing now
is the same thing the right did in the last 10 years, creating that think tank of like-minded people, or people who are lost in the weeds and they find somewhere a home, if you will, acceptance, if you will. You're seeing that now.
Well, I mean,
left from
they're capitalizing on disaffected
right.
whiteness.
No. So now the left now, minus touch, that's doing this. My favorite left-wing commentator, Kokolinski, his numbers have gone through the roof since election. So you're seeing his numbers go up now in massive numbers in the last like 3 months since the election. There is a resistance, I think, but what's happening, I think, is a little bit different than it was in 2017. The resistance now is not just going and protesting and and pussy hats and all that stuff. What you're seeing now is people people like fuck off CNN, fuck off MSNBC. We're gonna find people that like people, and you see
like
that,
look at what Mehdi's doing with Zateo.
Correct. So you're starting to see a left wing think tank develop now. The question is going to be now: how much impact could that have towards politicians now? Because again, at the end of the day, you still got to influence the people who run the party. You still got to have what kind of influence they have on.
I mean, they have
policy.
to get the old elitists out of the way. I mean, look at what happened after the election. Bernie Sanders is like, out here barnstorming and fighting for, to what extent is possible. And Joe Biden and Kamala Harris signed deals with CAA for representation. Like,
CAA, really? Carmelo Anthony's
No, CAA is in the mega agency in Hollywood.
I understand that, but
yeah,
if I'm not mistaken, wasn't Carmelo Anthony part of them one time?
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, they represent everybody. They represent 3/4 of Hollywood.
I knew about CAA because of the NBA and the guys they represent.
Yeah, I mean, they're the largest. They're the largest agency in the world, I believe.
Yeah.
So yeah, they got Joe Biden and Kamala Harris got agents instead of they don't give a fuck. Like Nancy Pelosi, all these leaders of the Democratic Party, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, they all need to step the fuck aside.
We've been
and like 80-year-olds are dictating to like people who you like don't know how to use Google, people who have been alive since before civil rights.
I hate to say this too to some of you left wingers who love the guy, but we kind of teased this on the podcast back in November. Barack Obama, goodbye.
Yeah, fuck him too. President Drone Strike. He's like
playing that anymore. Obviously, that's part of it, but also,
yeah, it's class. It's money, stupid. It's the money, stupid.
He doesn't have the juice anymore, bro.
Yeah, once you become so unfathomably wealthy that you find yourself in the top 1 to 5% of this country, you lose all perspective of what most of this country is experiencing. It doesn't matter who you are, what you stood for. Once you become a rich asshole, you're just a rich asshole.
That's correct.
I don't care where you grew up. I don't care how hard you worked. You're just another rich asshole.
My way. I'm back.
All right.
1 second.
But yeah, all of them. All of them. Yeah, it's
kick from studio. Hold on a second.
I mean, how many millions did Barack? How many millions did Barack Obama have when he became president versus how many millions did he have within 3 years of leaving the president? By 2019, how much was Barack Obama worth? Like, track that 10 years.
Do you think that's a big deal, though?
Yes, that's a huge deal.
I mean, I don't have a problem with people making money. I'm a capitalist. I don't have a problem with that.
It's the rate and the scale and the cost of that money. It's like, at what cost? You sold your soul. You sold out the workers. You sold out the people you campaigned on hope and change for. So you could fly on private jets and hang out with fucking Jay-Z. I don't like it's just so disappointing. Like, Americans are going bankrupt every day by the thousands,
Yeah.
Student loans are absolutely decimating people's ability to create wealth. Housing is nearly unaffordable, and private equity companies are just devastating our ability to keep ourselves housed and destroying American companies like all the fast casual restaurants that private equity has murdered.
You don't need to do.
Last 15
you don't
years.
need to do. You don't need to do. And I think this will be a very healthy debate. I'll probably set this up in the next couple months. Have you and Rob the Genius on the podcast, because Rob the Genius, he may disagree with you about the direction of the party. He's a Democrat himself too, also.
Sure,
but he's much more left than you are. Like he definitely does not think Bernie got screwed, and I think it'd be a hell of a debate. But I think you guys can come to common ground about the direction of the party going forward. I'm gonna set it up in the future. I'm gonna talk.
I would love that. Yeah, I mean, to me, like everything just comes down to just basic human decency and having empathy. Like, look at this. Paying people $7 an hour and expecting them to, pay $1,800 or $2,000 a month for rent. Like, your math ain't mathin'.
Math ain't mathin', brother.
There was a story that was done, I want to say, in it was probably Boston. One of the New England local news channels was showing how many hours you have to work at minimum wage to afford like a moderately priced apartment. And it's over 100 hours a week in every single state in New England. And in the case of New Hampshire, it's physically impossible. You would have to work 224 hours in a week at minimum wage to be able to afford a medium scale, a moderately priced apartment in the state of New Hampshire. And that's literally more hours than there are in a week.
Right.
Like, and then to people who say, well, minimum wage is for teenagers who flip burgers. No, the fuck it isn't. It never has been. That is a bullshit lie from the oppressor to keep people in place and pay starvation wages. The overwhelming majority of people who work for minimum wage are not teenagers. They do not work in jobs that are like available to high school kids. Like, it's just not so.
Right. One thing I want to talk to you before we get to Lakers, but I think I forgot what I was going to ask you. Shit, I forgot I was going to ask you. Fuck it. It was not important anyway, but I forgot.
My grandpa used to say, "Oh, it was probably a lie anyway." I forgot what I was going to ask you. Oh, it was probably a lie.
Yeah. All right. Your Lakers, red hot. This is for the record, this is probably the most I've seen you. With all the respect, Mark, give a fuck about this team in probably about 3 or 4 years.
It's been really hard.
You can't. You still watch, but you're not as engaged. Like, remember when we first started doing these shows together, these podcasts together, you were always engaged in hardcore, and then little by little, and a lot of it was life also. A lot of it's life also too.
Yeah, we started potting and writing together when Kobe was still chasing rings.
Right. No, right, but the thing is, but I also feel like a lot of it has to do also with life, like things.
100%.
You know what I mean?
My interest, the things like my garden of fucks is quite a bit more bare than it was, say, 10, 15 years ago.
So I did a pod on Tuesday with our contributor Greg Heredia, NBA analyst, and we were discussing the lay of the land of the Lakers, because look, they've been red hot since before the trade. First off, let's acknowledge that.
No. I mean, I was super skeptical of the JJ Redick move, and I need to shut. To quote Jeff T, let me shut the fuck up.
My thing is this though. My thought process was that when they made this trade, it was we're punting on this year. LeBron, do what you gotta do, but within a year or two, you'll be gone. Blah blah blah. Luka, we're looking at 10, 15 years down the road, which I understood that.
It's not the realm of possibility that was the intent of the front office, and JJ Redick was like, we'll see.
Yeah.
Because he doesn't lose. You know what I mean?
And then and they're playing well, blah blah blah. You're like, okay, but are they really going to beat them? I don't know. Then you look at the lay of the land of the Western Conference, and I'm really engaged now. Remember, I told you earlier I haven't been as engaged in the season. No, that's changed now. I'm back to 2012, 2013 EJ. I'm like watching every day. I look at the Western Conference, and really, when you think about it, how many actual title contenders are in the Western Conference? And I broke us down. Like,
4.
There really aren't. I don't think it's that much, to be honest with you. Like, to me, the only obvious ones there, the Thunder, obviously. And then the Nuggets.
I think, like,
that is
right
it.
Now, I think they would fall. They don't beat the Lakers 4 times in a week and a half.
Again,
the way they're playing,
you could be right about that. But my point is that when you combine the Lakers what they're playing right now, and I'm setting this up for you right now, what they're playing right now, the lay of the land of the Western Conference. Look, Houston's a great story, but they're not finals contenders. Memphis, question marks there. Dallas, if they're healthy, we'll have a different conversation, but they're not healthy right now. AD's out still, okay? Golden State, please, show me, and then they'll come. I don't believe that shit, even though they're playing well
I
with
see them
Jimmy.
being extremely disruptive. There is a narrow possibility that they put a little lightning in a bottle and do kind of like what Miami did in 2020.
Correct.
However, they're
Right.
not as talented as Miami was in 2020.
Exactly.
But it's possible.
If we do believe that this Lakers surge is real, and Luka's only getting better and getting acclimated now, I find it far-fetched, if given the right matchups going forward, that this team cannot. Why couldn't they be in the West Conference Finals?
Yeah. No, okay. So I mean, we texted about this a lot, obviously, when the trade first went down, and my thought process was very similar to that as when they traded for Gasol. Which, funny enough, what was it? 6 years to the day, or something like that.
16 years to the day.
17 years.
17 years to the day.
Yeah.
2008 happened.
Yeah. But I saw a lot of parallels with that, is that, it's obviously going to make the team markedly better than it was, but I didn't have lofty expectations, just like I didn't for that immediate run. And we got housed in the finals, I expected something similar. However, the combination of what you're seeing in the team defense, both like the platoon of guys that they've got in the post between Gabriel Vincent and Jackson Hayes and, Rui even playing some center. And then like Austin Reeves' perimeter defense has been fantastic. So the combination, it's all everything's trending in the right direction. They're second in the West right now. And don't they aren't they like 13 of their last 15 or 14 of their last 15 they've won? Something like that?
Something, yeah, definitely.
So no, and I think Nico Harrison is going to go down as one of the worst people in Dallas sports history.
If big if he has a 2-3 window, he better get a finals championship out of that, or he's fucked.
Mm-hmm. Kyrie and AD need to be the centerpiece of a championship.
And my thing is too, also looking at that whole transaction, is that I understand the logic of like, yeah, I want to pay this guy that kind of money because of his conditioning and all stuff.
Yeah.
But again, identify who. This is not. We're not talking about Jason Tatum here or Jaylen Brown. This is a generational player. You don't let that go out the door. Number one, for starters.
Yeah, what he's done offensively over the first 7 years of his career has only been done by two other players,
right?
MJ and LeBron.
And number two, if you're going to get rid of him, get the most you can for him. There's no doubt, Mark, there's no doubt that if that motherfucker was actually available for trade, that they would have gotten more back than what the Lakers gave up for him.
That part of it makes no sense to me, but the bigger part of it that really stands out to me is just the sheer stupidity of their behavior in the wake of all of this.
Yeah.
The way that they throw dirt on him as he's leaving town, because now, I said this to a bunch of friends. I think I said this to you on the phone, within the day or two afterwards. But if your biggest gripe with him is conditioning, preparation, and demeanor, why in the fuck would you send him to the house that Kobe Bryant built to play with the most dedicated, prepared, body managed player in the history of the NBA?
And LeBron James, of course.
If ever there was a chance, he's gonna figure it out. He's gonna do it now, and now he's pissed off.
Unless you believe in conspiracy theory. Unless you believe in conspiracy theory.
What's that?
Which the league facilitated this because Luka playing in that market, the benefits. I'm not saying it. This is what's out there. Get mad at me all you want. This is what's out there, bro.
No, just the amount of tinfoil all over the internet just pisses me off so much.
I get it. I hear it all the fucking time. I hear it all the fucking time.
It's really simple. Nico was Kobe's Nike handler. Nico and Rob go back like 20 years. Nico doesn't like Luka. So he had coffee with his homie and said, "Get this kid off my hands. Give me AD."
Right, but you mean so you can got more from you can got
He
more
did
from,
business with his homie,
the only thing I will say though, and
and
granted,
he bounced a kid out of town that he didn't like.
the only thing I will say, and it looks bad right now in the moment because he's not here to play, is that I hate that for that trade they made AD look like less than, which
That really
fucking sucks.
Yeah, and I'm sure you saw it on my story, the tribute. Like, okay, comparing organizational class. Dallas had their like in-game highlight reel, promo, amp up video, whatever those things
Yeah.
are called, sizzle reel,
Mhm.
and they blacked out Luka's face with a like badly animated Mavericks logo. And what did the Lakers do? They put together like a literal tear-jerking 3-minute tribute to AD, thanking him for everything he gave to Los Angeles.
Mhm.
Like, you guys
Ridiculous.
are just assholes in Dallas. Like, and even Mark Cuban is like he said he was like embarrassed and ashamed to boo Luka. You know, like,
yeah. And I'm not even talking about the organization, but that itself is bad. And in fact, I saw, I don't know if this is true or not, but apparently there's some truth to this, that there was a report that the Mavericks were banning people wearing Doncic jerseys.
no, that was I
was going to say
that was a bullshit post.
Okay, good. I'm going to say because
I sent you that, I think.
Is that even legal? Is that even legal to do that?
I don't believe so. I mean, technically they're a private company and the venue is private property, so they can, they can refuse service to anyone for any reason.
Great. I'm going to say that's true.
Jim Dolan, fucking banned Charles Oakley forever and ever because he said mean things about him. So, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I guess they can, but that would be their most idiotic move yet, because according to anybody I know that's spent any time in Dallas the last 5-6 years, everywhere you look, kids are wearing 77.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I didn't think Dallas would be a communist organization. I would have thought that they'd embrace that shit. Well, who knows? Anyway, having said all that, like when I was talking about like the reactions, more so the people outside the media, like people, fans, like AD when healthy is a top 5 or 10 player in the league still.
Yeah, he's incredible.
It's just that he's healthy.
I mean, that's what I've said about the Lakers for years. I mean, basically since 2020, if you can count on LeBron and AD to give you 60 points and, AD to stay in the game defensively, your odds of winning any matchup are exceedingly high. But the problem, AD's banged up. He has a hard time staying on the floor.
Yep. Yeah.
And Luka is younger than Austin Reeves.
That's fucking hysterical.
Like,
that's crazy.
He was 18 when he came into the league, or 19. So yeah, he's literally like a year or like 10 months younger than Austin Reeves, who you think of as like a kid in this league. He's went in his like third or fourth year.
He's balling too. He's another one that's playing well.
Oh, dude, he's on. No, but that's what I mean is the Lakers are getting so much value from places they didn't expect. And or maybe they did, at least I didn't. I should say. And JJ Redick is a fantastic coach.
I told you, when it happened. I told you back then that he's gonna be. He has you watch his podcast, you listen to him on shows.
His mind, like
he's
his
obsessed with basketball.
Yeah, he's like Rondo or Kobe that way.
He's gonna be a great coach. I'm telling you, he's gonna be.
Yeah.
I think he'll be an all-time great coach. Honestly.
He has all the makings of it. And you know what? That's a really cool segue too, because speaking of all-time great coach, how heartbreaking is the shit going on with Greg Popovich?
Oh my god. That
shit. You got Wemby. You got poor Wemby with DVT in his shoulder, which is also terrifying.
But hopefully he's. I'm leaning on the positive because that was the same one Brandon Ingram had actually also too. And he
okay.
So
we're hoping it's Brandon Ingram and not Chris Bosh.
Chris Bosh, correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the Pop thing is sad too. Yeah.
God, I love him so much. And obviously, we can bring up the post that had some absurd commentary on it.
Should we read some of
The-
this real quick?
and-
I'm calling some of my boys on. So in the
are we
Earnestly
gonna
podcast,
bring up the community the community Facebook?
I'm doing right now. I'll bring up any. I'll bring up my phone.
I literally like the equivalent of like almost dropped my phone when I saw the comment on there that said Greg Popovich is overrated. I'm like, excuse me, what? What?
So in the Earnestly Speaking podcast community group, which I have on Facebook, guys, you want to join it. It's a private group. If you want to join, send me a request, and as long as you're a real person, you'll be accepted. Basically, it was a post, reacting to the announcement that Pop is not returning this year, and I basically put a retweet, a repost saying
due to a mild stroke.
If this is it, he's my GOAT. So here's some of the comments on here that came out here. Let me see. That's my boy Alex. He goes, overrated. Once Duncan left the free fall to last place, only took a few years. NBA version of Brady in the past, Pats, and show how overrated Bill B was. Now, I see the correlation he's making there. It's not fair.
It's a total false equivalency.
Not fair.
Like,
yeah, it is, because again,
Greg Popovich was never once accused of cheating. Has been a moral and ethical compass in the league.
Let's start there.
For decades.
And the thing is, Popovich has actually started over a few times with that same core and stretched it out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there were like 4 different versions or 5 different versions of Tim Duncan centric teams. Like, what are you talking about?
My thing is, and this is why we do a podcast at my day job, and we had the same exact topic yesterday on the show. And this is how I always viewed great coaches. It's not so much the rings, it's the context. Like, so I think Belichick's still the GOAT right now in the NFL. However, the reason that I have him as a GOAT has nothing to do with 6 rings. 6 rings is part of the conversation, but it's not the conversation.
Yeah, it's 20 plus years of organizational excellence.
Bingo. Even if I don't win the Super Bowl, I'm always in the conversation. I'm always there's no free fall.
The Popovich, like, when you think about and to say that about Duncan, also like that Duncan was the only reason that Popovich was successful, completely discounts the teams of the early 90s with David Robinson and Sean Elliott. Like, what the hell?
But I guarantee you, he's the same guy who'll say Phil Jackson to go. Okay, so where's Phil's context when he had shit teams? Oh, I'm sorry, Phil Jackson never did that because he only coached the elite players. The minute
exactly. No, and I mean, look, it's you that turned me from Phil GOAT to Pop GOAT.
That's true.
Over the years. And for this reason, you helped me understand it. It's that I was getting a little blip in connectivity here.
You are? You're fine.
Yeah. You can. Okay. So video's freezing, but audio.
No, you're fine.
Isn't.
You're fine.
Okay.
Yeah, you're fine.
So no. The whole argument there with Pop versus Phil is that Pop always had teams that were greater than the sum of their parts, even when their parts were elite. Like, and Phil Jackson only ever functioned in systems where he had elite talent, as demonstrated by his disastrous run as an executive in New York.
Right.
I mean, obviously he wasn't the head coach, but he made.
Oh, now he's gone. Oh, now I lost Mark. Oh, now I lost you. All right, so we're going on a riff about Phil Jackson or Craig Popovich. Right, we're back. Sorry, we had a.
Now it's Mark's turn to have a technical difficulty.
Yeah, we had a bit of pause in a second. Yeah, dude. By the way, I did a podcast last night with Rob Genius. We did all wrestling, and that was a live show we did, and I kept going in and out of Wi-Fi issues, but you wouldn't know But the good thing is you wouldn't notice it though on the show because like on the final recording because he was still talking as though I was getting knocked out. So. Yeah. Thank God it wasn't an issue, so it didn't look as bad.
Well, okay, so going back to the Phil Pop conversation is, obviously Pop always put together teams that were greater than the sum of their parts, even when the parts were elite. He had so many different iterations, and one of the other, like when you want to go back to like the chip stuff, how many Olympic gold medals does Phil have?
Has he coached the team before?
He has 0. He was never part of USA basketball.
All right.
Staff.
I don't know why he's probably didn't want to. I guess I don't know. I don't want to make this a bash Phil thing.
No. It's not a trophy case comparison. It's a philosophical comparison.
Right.
I think Phil also became a completely self-obsessed egomaniac after in retirement. Like, right. He's a crazy person.
which affected his ability to actually navigate as an executive.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I don't know if people understand that Greg Popovich is also the president of the San Antonio Spurs, in addition to
has been
for 30-something years.
Yeah. Like he has been, and so it's like you look at Doc Rivers, another legend of the game. He absolutely could not manage that with the Clippers of being both executive and coach. And Greg Popovich has done this for decades, for 25 years.
Yeah.
He's unquestionably the NBA coaching GOAT. He's got 5 rings, 2 Olympic gold medals. God only knows how many Coach of the Year awards. Like stop it. And organizational excellence for 30 years.
Yeah, I agree. Any other before we get to baseball? Any other stories in the NBA? That's because you're watching again now, right? You're watching
yeah, I'm definitely watching more. One of the ones that I'm finding interesting is obviously is the New York Knicks. Boy,
what a big game for shit.
What a fraud. Like, man, did they? I didn't even see the end of the game, but it was on when I was at bowling last night. And did they even beat Philly?
They won last night, barely, but they won.
Okay, because they were up when I saw it first. They were up like by 15 or 20, and then all of a sudden I look up again, and it's the fourth quarter, and it was 96-95, and I'm like, what in the hell happened? Philly is terrible.
Yeah.
And then they've lost to all the best teams in the East. No, I think this NBA season is going to come down to probably, health notwithstanding. But I think the Final Four is probably Lakers, Nuggets, Celtics, Cavs. Those are the only teams to me right now that look like that have either the pedigree or
something tells you we're getting a surprise. I don't know where, but we're going to surprise.
Okay, so let me ask you: who do you have as like the highest probability to surprise?
Well, if I'm going by your list, I think the Thunder are a finals contender still.
I think if they catch the Lakers, that's a disastrous matchup for them.
Here's the one thing, though: they are strong at a one point right now where the Lakers are not, because they correct that issue. In the offseason, is it in the middle? Hartenstein being in the middle is a massive upgrade now for them.
True.
And so they can dominate the boards. And now a Chet back in the lineup too also. I know that loss because Minnesota looks really bad because the way they lost on Monday.
By the way, I'm making my way back in on the laptop, so stand by.
Take your time, brother. I'll bring you in. Do the same thing I did. I think the Thunder is still the favorites to win the West. If I'm looking at surprises, the surprises are really going to be in the West. Like, there you are. Hold on. Bringing it up just a second. There you are. Are you there?
Am I?
Yes, you are. Gotcha.
All right. Cool.
I think surprises are gonna be in the West most likely. I think Memphis is a team to look at. I'm not saying that they're going to do anything. We'll watch Memphis a little bit.
I think they're a first or second round exit, honestly.
No, I didn't likely on that. But they've been playing very well this year. Dallas is the big wild card because that's all health related. If I'm getting those guys healthy in April, if I know AD is healthy, ready to go in April, they can beat any of those teams in the Western Conference, I think.
Yeah, that's the only one to me that has dark horse potential. Is if Dallas can get healthy, they're dangerous.
Right.
But I don't see that as entirely likely.
Right.
I've banked my hopes on Anthony Davis's health for too many years.
Yep.
And again, like he's one of the greatest players of all time. But he should have been top. Wasn't he excluded from the top 75 team?
He's
or was he
I
part
want
of
to say he was part of it.
Can't remember. There were a couple. I just remember
there was part of that actually. Yeah.
There were so many snubs. I mixed them up, and there were some real head scratchers.
Let's ask Chat AI. Maybe we'll let us know. No, but in the meantime, though, yeah, I think if you look in the Western Conference, they're I can't even call them a dark horse because that's all about health.
Yeah, I
East?
mean, yeah, it's Dallas. To me, the two big dark horses in the West would be Golden State catching lightning in a bottle or Dallas getting timely health.
Yeah.
But
And I'm not mad at
otherwise,
Golden State this yet, though. I'm with you, but I'm not betting.
yeah, same. But you just can't. I mean, the combination of Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green, there's just so much dog there.
Yeah, of course.
I will never betting against them. Bet against them at your peril. Like,
Yeah. In the East, like, so you said Cleveland and Boston, which is obviously a good choice. Like, I'm still like, even with everything they've done. By the way, hold on, shit.
And by the way, I think not having Jaylen Brown in the playoffs is really going to set Boston back compared to, like, they're not going to look as tough as they did last year. Not
wait, what do you mean?
Or not Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart. Sorry.
He wasn't there last year either, though. He wasn't there last year.
I thought Marcus Smart was there.
No, he got no.
He got bounced before. Never mind.
Yeah, he was there. The other team that
that's
lost.
What. Yeah.
No.
I mix those up.
The
team that lost in the finals. Yeah.
Right. No. Yeah. The East, like, obviously Cleveland and Boston are the obvious, but the dark horse in the East is probably Milwaukee. That's the easiest one, to be honest. Because I love.
Well, yeah, because I mean they're underperforming relative to their talent.
Right.
So, like, yeah, if they do what they should be doing, they should look a lot better, in the next few weeks.
By the way, AD was part of the NBA 75.
Okay, thank God.
He was, and rightly so.
Yeah, 100%.
Right, rightly so. New York, obviously, you mentioned New York a little while ago. Like, look, they have the tools to do it, but these losses to Lakers, Celtics, Cavs, all these big losses to big teams.
Honestly, Tom Thibodeau runs players into.
He's the problem. He's the fucking problem. I've been saying that how long now?
He's a dinosaur.
He has a ceiling.
Yeah, he just burns dudes out.
Yeah. But Milwaukee would be the other team in the East, I would say, is the dark horse of that conference.
Yeah, but I think a Lakers Celtics final or a Denver Cleveland final is most like, something like that is probably what we end up with. And God, if we got a Lakers Celtics final,
like, Boston's the favorite, obviously, to win it, but Boston, I think Boston's beatable.
Boston doesn't match up well with the Lakers,
right?
Look at those head-to-heads.
And Boston's beatable. Like, get him off.
Is Drew Holiday going to guard fucking Luka?
My thing is this, though. Get him off. If you can get Boston off the fucking 3-point line, you have a great shot.
Well, and Lakers perimeter defense right now with the trifecta of LeBron, Luka, and Austin Reeves as your starting rotation is they've been locked down lately. I mean, team defense, like the thing we've talked about going back to Kobe and the kids, has always been team defense with the Lakers, and JJ finally figured it out.
Right.
Frank got it for a minute, but then when they blew that team up, he didn't stand a chance. Darvin Ham was lost, but JJ cracked the code.
He did. So that's how I look at it there on the NBA. In terms of, like, I think it's more wide open across the board than people give credit for. I think Boston's the easy answer, but they are very beatable. I think they're very beatable. All right.
Just quick tech check. Is my video feed looking normal on your side? Because
a little bit, yeah. It was a little bit blurry. It's a little bit blurry, but you're fine. I can hear you fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. One last thing to get out of here. Baseball's back. Spring training is ready weekend. I'm really excited about this year. Look, now, I say that knowing that your boys, the Dodgers, are going to repeat because they're defending champions. And it got better. And we lost Mark again. Okay, we're back again. Baseball. I guess the computer's not really. I guess our computer's not really like.
No, no. My old reliable is not very reliable today.
Mine is barely hanging on. Mine is actually my MacBook is 15 years old.
Yeah, I think mine is close to that. I got it it's 12. I got it in 2013, but I have an iMac. I just don't at my house in LA, I had a whole office set up. I was using that. I had the GoPro and everything, or my SLR that I was using for pods. It was a dope little setup, but I don't have any of that in my apartment. My iMac is sadly bubble wrapped. So
yeah,
may have to set that bad boy up again.
Yeah. So as I was saying, the Dodgers are World Series champions.
We're going back to back.
And yeah, they are going back to back, and they got better. I don't know if you saw the odds already for this year. I never seen odds as I never seen it
as skewed as they are.
Yeah, so they're like plus 250 or something like that. You're looking right now. 250 according to Hard
Are you
Rock.
serious?
Yeah, plus 250.
Didn't we go into last season like plus 325 or something like that, and that was
Yeah,
high?
some shit. So right now, I'm looking at it right now. Major League Baseball. There we go. Let me look up real quick. If this thing can. All right, so World Series odds. Okay, so Dodgers are a plus 275 to win the World Series. The Yankees are next team here, plus 800. There's no close second.
Jesus. Well, and I mean, not only that, like, it's easy to disregard because of how stacked the team is.
Yeah.
But like, we were banged up as shit last year too.
I know you were.
And
what did I tell you?
We have like 45 starting pitchers now, and Clayton Kershaw is the worst one. Like, what?
What did I tell you last year? During the NLCS, because when the Mets were in there, I told you that the middle of that lineup scared you more than the top guys, like the Kikis of the world and the other guys on the lineup was scary.
Well, and like
more
when
than
Kike got his eyesight
Will
fixed,
Smith,
like
yeah.
deadly.
They scared you more than fucking Shohei and Freddie and those guys. They scared you more. I'm like, come on. You know,
Yeah, guys like Tommy Edman and
Yes.
Teoscar Hernandez
Yes.
and
Was
Chris
it Edman?
Taylor.
Was it him or Smith the NLCS MVP?
Tommy Edman was, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. My point exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm looking.
Teoscar Hernandez hit like 3 or 4 home runs against the Padres, I think.
So here's a top 5,
including
odds.
a grand slam.
Here's the top 5 odds for World Series now. So I just told you the Dodgers are plus 275, right? The Yankees are plus 800. Okay, the Braves at plus 850.
The Mets got to be in there, yeah.
Plus the Mets plus 1100, and then the Phillies are. This is actually a good value here. The Phillies plus 1200.
The Phillies are plus 1200. You said?
Yeah.
I would actually bet. I would bet that for shits and giggles.
I would too. You know why? I know people say, well, the Phillies have like got a little bit worse every year. They won the World Series one year, then they lost NLCS next year, then last year in the NLDS. But I feel like a lot of that's also based on execution. I think the team is still really good. I think they might, in my opinion, after the Dodgers, have the best well-rounded roster in baseball.
Yeah, 100%. And remember, I went and watched Philly beat the piss out of the Dodgers last June.
Yeah.
And they to me remind me a lot of kind of how that Washington Nationals team with Juan Soto and Trey Turner was built, in the sense that if they get healthy and hot down the stretch at the end of the season, like they can fuck anyone's season up.
Yeah, I agree. So what do you? I mean, I think this is gonna be a good year in general. I mean, it feels like it does feel like a foregone conclusion.
Yeah. Well, I'll say Roki has had a bumpy start to the spring. He's having some welcome to MLB moments, unfortunately. However, Shohei's looking great. Yamamoto looks better. They're not winning games right now.
Is Snell pitching yet? No.
Yeah, he only pitched 1 inning the other day. Threw a lot of pitches. One of the breakdowns that I saw of his outing was that he was probably just doing a lot of like tinkering, workshopping kind of stuff. So he was, testing to see how pitches are responding. Because like he had some nice counts where he was getting like 0-2s, 1-2s, and then ended up in full counts. I think he had, he saw 3 or 4 batters allowed 1 hit and no runs.
Is he number 1 or number 2 in the lineup?
He's probably number 3.
Really? So Yamamoto 1, right? Oh no.
I would have Yoshi 1. It's my guess is probably it's Yoshi 1, Shohei 2, Snell.
No. Sorry. No. Pitching. I'm saying pitching.
Yeah.
Blake Snell.
Yeah. No. I'm saying this is Shohei Ohtani is slated to be in the starting rotation.
Oh, he's pitching this year?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So it's Yoshi 1, Ohtani 2, Snell 3, Glasnow, May, and
is Kershaw going to start?
Kershaw kind of fill out the back end.
Is Kershaw going to be 5th if necessary? And then
I think he's guy? I don't like. No one's really saying what his role is going to be. It's probably more or less whatever the hell he wants, and his elbow can withstand
him, right? They actually resigned him, right? They didn't.
Yeah.
It's not he was actually on a 1-year deal last year, and they resigned him after the World
Yeah,
Series.
I
Okay.
think this is an opportunity for him. He's pissed off that he didn't have a meaningful hand in this ring, and he wants one more crack at it. That's my guess.
Yeah.
And
So far-
I mean, if we were to go on a run where we go to 3-4 World Series in a row, I'm not saying we win them all, but like, win 3-4 pennants, I could see him sticking around, throwing, a fraction of the pitch count he otherwise would over the course of a season.
how
but
old is he
just
now? 37, 38?
no, something like that. No, because he's like 4 or 5 years younger than me. He's probably like 35, 36, I think.
Oh, he's still. I'm not saying young, but he's still manageable.
Yeah, but I mean, he came into the league at 18 and has had an insane work. Like 18 to
36.
30, his workload was just ridiculous.
He'll be 37 in 3 weeks.
Okay, there you go. Yeah, I knew he was like 3 to 5 years younger than me because I was there his first postseason when he was 18, and I was like a senior in college or something.
But again, like if freaking Verlander could pitch to his 40s and Scherzer pitches his 40s, there is a market for him.
Yeah, but I think Scherzer and Verlander have a little more like just physical dominance and beef upon which to rely more so than Kershaw, unless Kershaw goes to sort of a Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine late career, like when Tom Glavine reinvented himself with the Mets at the end of after the Braves, when
I'm a big Glavine guy.
I can't remember if it was shoulder or elbow issues that he had, but I mean, he basically blew up his arm.
Elbow.
Yeah, he basically blew up his arm and completely had to like restructure and rebuild how he pitches and what pitches he throws. So, I mean, if Kershaw were to do something more in that vein, or like the versions of Greg Maddux that we saw at the end of his career with the second run with the Cubs or like with the Dodgers and Padres, I think Kershaw can be effective. But yeah, I think like Scherzer and Verlander are each like 3 inches taller and 20 pounds heavier, like beefy wise than Kershaw.
That makes sense.
So I got to think that's probably a factor. And dude, like, what are you beating up your body for? Like, think of it like Peyton Manning, or Andrew Luck.
My thing is this though: if I'm Kershaw,
why?
My thing is if I'm Kershaw, like if you're okay with taking a lesser role to end your career and just cut the paycheck, why you're in the right spot?
Yeah.
People love you in LA.
Just sit there and get the rings that Joe Torre and Don Mattingly fucked you out of with their terrible decision making in October.
Exactly.
Go get your lick back for all those rings you got robbed by Houston and St. Louis.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he has 2 rings now.
To me, if he gets 3 rings or 2 more rings, he quote unquote didn't earn. I'll say that's his lick back for getting left in for 2 innings too long against St. Louis and getting just smacked by somebody like Matt Holliday or Albert Pujols.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Are there any stories in baseball that intrigue you outside of the Dodgers?
I like watching the Padres implode because fuck them.
It's always fun what they're watching.
Dude,
that's the Yankees. I mean the Yankees. Like fuck the Yankees.
Yeah, I mean. Okay, one thing I did see that was really funny, and I was even joking about with one of the guys on my bowling team who's a big Yankees fan. Yeah. Did you see the comment, Nestor Cortez, who now plays for the Brewers, by the way, doesn't even play for the Yankees anymore? Did you see where he came out and said that, like, well, we were the better team. They just got the upper hand on us. Nestor.
Stop it.
Let's check our receipt, shall we? The Dodgers scouting report that was not public until after the World Series was literally let the Yankees Yankee.
Yeah.
Nestor.
Let Judge not play let Judge play down to who he really is in the regular season.
I get it. You are going to have to watch that World Series highlight for the rest of your life, many hundreds, if not thousands of times more than you want. You are a Billy Buckner level of tagged man. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm deeply sympathetic to what you're going to experience over the next 25, 30 years.
Yeah.
However, like, dude, that's an absurd statement.
It really is. It really is. What are you
Oh
thinking?
man, but no, my thing. Okay, I want to circle back on the Padres for a minute because
I got 5 minutes. I gotta go here.
they were a classy organization. They really were. I loved going to Padres games right before Machado and Tatis got to town. But they're dickheads. I'm sorry. Their stars are dickheads, and they are detestable, unlikable human beings. Like, they're pricks who lollygag and they talk shit and they want to chirp and they want to be chippy and all these things, and then they cry when they lose and they get it in, or they get it back. Like, Padres fans and Padres stars are some of the most, just one of the most aggravating presences in all of baseball, in my opinion.
So why are they so low on the odds, the plus 2,500? Well, that
because they have a shitty team and their front office is a mess. They haven't spent a single dollar to improve their franchise this offseason.
Well, they spent all the money 2 years ago, and they went to the World Series. Remember? Okay, never mind. For me,
you're cute.
For me though, I'm really intrigued by the Phillies next year. And I hate.
I think the Phillies are really interesting. I think the Giants are going to be more interesting. But we're going to be talking about the Dodgers, Mets, Yankees, and Phillies. That's all we're talking about this spring and summer.
Maybe I'm doing the whole New York Met thing because it is in our DNA to be skeptical of the future. But I'm still not so. I think if you ask me right now in a vacuum, they yes, they make the playoffs, but they're not winning the NL East. I think the Phillies win the NL East. I think the Phillies have a barn morning year, a bounce back year. I didn't put up.
I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be really interesting, honestly, between the Braves, Phillies, and Mets. I think as long as everybody stays more or less healthy, it's going to be a freaking war.
The Phillies are
July,
underrated.
August.
In my opinion, they might be the most underrated team right now in baseball because no one's talking about them.
100%. 100%. And
they didn't just suck out of nowhere. I mean, I hate the Phillies, but
I'm not a fan.
Me either.
Imagination, am I a
Me
fan?
either. Yes,
but I saw them from the 8th row last year. I know what they're capable of.
Exactly.
And there is one thing I do want to just tap dance on for a minute because we haven't had a chance to talk about it on the pod. It's kind of old hat now, but
go ahead.
Anybody saying the Dodgers are ruining baseball and their team is not spending any money, kindly go fuck yourself. There were like 9 fan bases or 9 teams that literally didn't spend a single dollar during the offseason to improve their roster.
Hi, Marlins.
You can't be mad at the Dodgers for just playing the game. The Dodgers don't even have the wealthiest ownership group in baseball, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's up there. But the Mets, the Yankees, and the Dodgers are really the only ones doing stuff. The Padres didn't get better. The Brewers didn't get better. The White Sox are still a disaster. The Cubs are
You guys also did some really shady shit. Not shady, but I mean the Shohei contract notwithstanding.
I mean, okay, I understand the complaint about deferred money, but all these other ball clubs can do it too.
And that's why I don't get mad about it. It's like, you know what? It's a loophole they expose, and guess what? It's not illegal.
Yeah, it's to me the gripe around deferred money is the same hollow bullshit about everyone, when Bill James was made a pariah and then later Billy Beane and now analytics is the backbone of every major league organization.
Hmm.
So to me, it's Bill James and Billy Beane all over again, throwing stones at this idea of deferred money. Every other ball club can do it and are in great financial positions to do so. Not to mention the Shohei and Yamamoto contracts have already paid for themselves.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Hey, man, if you're mad about it, guys, do it yourselves. I can't get mad about it. It's loophole. It's there.
Call your GM. Like
That's a Manfred problem.
That's like try Jesus, not me, baby.
Exactly. So I think we took off everything off the docket, right? I think everything's we cut everything off.
Is that about everything?
We're almost 2 hours in, man. Great job as always.
Thank you.
I definitely just want to talk about baseball this year on the show, so we'll do that.
I think it's gonna be an exciting season. And look,
can't wait.
The Mets to me have the best. Like Dave Roberts should have won Manager of the Year. It's a crime he didn't, because what he did in the postseason to me addressed and assuaged all my historical concerns about his game management abilities and rotational management, how he was utilizing the bullpen and the roster, all of it. However, Mendoza is incredible.
Yeah.
I like him with the Dodgers roster. We probably break the record for regular season wins. He's an incredible manager.
Yeah.
You guys have a stacked lineup. I love that they managed to bring Pete Alonso back.
1 year, possibly 2, how it plays out.
But I think the fan base needs that, especially for Juan Soto's first year.
I think we also got to see. We got to see also if that's going to work with him and Soto, the protection. If that's going to work. And I think if he has a great year,
I mean, it worked with Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton. Why wouldn't it work with Alonso?
No, I'm saying on Alonso's part, not so much on Soto's part. On Alonso's part. So,
well, I mean, anytime you have a mega slugger in your lineup, it automatically means every other hitter is going to see better, more hittable pitches every time.
Right.
Especially the guys around. If Alonso's 1 or 2 positions behind Soto in the lineup, they're going to be pitching around Soto to get to Alonso. Those are great opportunities for them.
Right. It doesn't make sense for the Mets to sign Soto and then not sign Alonso. Now, I understand, and I actually...
Yeah. How many times this year did they walk Ohtani and then Mookie Betts or Freddie Freeman hits a home
exactly.
run?
I actually admire the Mets this time around being a lot more suspect and being more, responsible money-wise, because Alonso's 31 years old. He's a little older. And is that about?
I don't think that Soto contract is dead weight. Like, I mean, it might, the back end might be.
But Alonso, however, though, is he's a one trick pony, and he's getting older. So you want to pay that guy 4 or 5 years in? It was more so about the amount of years, not the money. Yeah. The amount of years. So, but
exactly. I think the Mets are in a great position. They scare the hell out of me. Like the Mets and the Phillies legitimately worry me in our path to repeating.
The pitching is what I'm very, very skeptical about with the Mets, and that's
look what we saw happen. The one game where the Mets played really well against the Dodgers, Manaea dominated in LA.
Yeah.
But then when he had to come back around and do it again in, I believe, Game 6, we just teed off on him.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, Mark, that's going to the pod.
Quick shout out. I want to plug this sweatshirt. There's a guy that I follow on Instagram. He's probably on all the platforms, and I'll direct you to Blue Sky and shit because fuck Meta and fuck X. But at Ebony Warrior Studios, he is a neurospicy history teacher and a brilliant commenter on all things society and downfall of America. And this lovely hoodie is one of his. So you can support his work and make him some money. Go check him out at Ebony Warrior Studios. And then, of course, always follow the work we're doing in Haiti and domestically. That's one thing I do want to touch on before we get out of here. Mm-hmm. We never hit immigration and the atrocities that are taking place right now with ICE raids and the fact that I see, say, ICE trucks in my neighborhood. But the Haitian community is in peril right now in places like Brooklyn and New Jersey. Right. Fear and despair are running rampant throughout the community. So stay tapped in with at HAC US on all platforms and at HAC_US and at HAC_Haiti to see all the work we're doing for the Haitian diaspora, both here and abroad. And to stay tapped in with everything that's happening with this immigration crisis, because it's inhumane, it's disgusting, and thousands, if not millions of people are going to be affected in the very near future. So, that's all I got.
Mark, great one as always. 2 hours in, great pod today, man. That was awesome.
Technical difficulties notwithstanding, you're gonna have some
On both
editing
ends.
work. I was gonna
Yeah,
say,
a little bit,
you're gonna have a little editing work to do.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, there's some editing here, but it's okay.
Yeah, there's gonna be some cuts and breaks, and it's gonna look a little funky this time. But hey, we got through it.
With my fingers, we'll be fine. Good job, Mark, as always.
Thanks a lot, man.